Hi, everyone. Let's do something fun and unusual for a TED Talk, okay? I want you all to break up into groups of 4 and share with your group a story from your childhood that reveals whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, And then I'm going to ask each group to select the most personal, poignant, private of these stories and share them with the audience as a whole. And from this collaborative group process, a larger truth will emerge. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. But how many of you were thinking, how can I get out of here right now without insulting the speaker? Yes, I saw the horrified looks on your faces even through the glare of these spotlights. So this is how so many introverts feel about the team-building exercises we are forever obliged to participate in. Now, I was really lucky. I got to spend 7 years in splendid solitude writing a book called Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. And when it published, I thought that I would give my TED Talk and then I could go home for 7 years and write another book. But the talk touched a nerve, and thousands of strangers started reaching out and sharing their own stories of accepting their introversion for the first time. And those stories changed the course of my life. So I'm going to tell you all about that. But first, I want to share just a few of these stories. Okay, high school junior in Kansas who was desperately trying to twist herself into a pretzel, trying to be a leader. But she was kicked off her high school's prestigious leadership squad because she wasn't outgoing enough. She was so devastated. But she told me that she saw the TED Talk and it reminded her what she actually would have preferred to do in the first place, which was science. And so her version of leadership turned out to be publishing her first scientific paper at 17, winning a huge university scholarship, and today she's a happy freshman majoring in biomedical engineering. Yeah. Okay, there was an Ivy League president, there was a Fortune 500 CEO, and a Marine Corps general, all of whom confessed to me that introversion was their secret and their secret strength. There was a quiet teacher who somehow managed to convince her entire school to rethink its emphasis on class participation and endless group projects. And there was even a lonely young guy who decided not to commit suicide because he finally realized there was a place for him in this world. And today, believe it or not, he's happy, he's productive, he's in a loving marriage. So it turns out that embracing their quiet nature does not cause introverts to flee to a shack in the woods. It empowers them to embrace the world, but to do it for the first time on their own terms. Now, ironically, these stories had the same effect on me. I found myself every morning with my laptop thinking about all these souls and writing not the first sentences of my next book, but the blueprint for a quiet revolution. That's what I want to talk to you about. And then it went on, and I started joining forces with a growing army of quiet revolutionaries, many of whom, by the way, are extroverts with quiet colleagues and spouses and kids of their own. And together, we have just formed a venture-backed, mission-based company whose goal is to empower introverts for the benefit of us all. Yes, thank you. That's a third to a half of humanity. 1 out of every 2 or 3 people you know is introverted. So we're dreaming really big. And I want to just give you, in the interest of time, the quickest look at 3 of the many big projects on our drawing board. Okay, first, transforming office architecture. Solitude is a crucial ingredient of innovation and even of leadership, and we want to bring it back to the workplace. 2 years ago at TED, just after I gave my talk, I met with a lovely guy and a self-described introvert named Jim Hackett, who you all had a chance to meet last night. Now, Jim at the time was the CEO of Steelcase, the company who, of course, helped design the beautiful TED main stage. And he told me that for years he had been worried about the growing erosion of focus and privacy in modern offices. And of course, we had been worrying about the same thing and been pretty vocal about it. So fast forward 2 years, we have now formed a partnership with Steelcase to bring quiet spaces to open offices, so now workers can move freely back and forth between private and social spaces as they wish. And in fact, thank you. And in fact, Jim Hackett, I believe, and his successor CEO, Jim Cain, who are 2 of the most inspiring quiet leaders I know, are here right now. Do you guys want to maybe raise your hands? Thank you. Next, helping organizations train the next generation of quiet leaders. You know, many of the world's great leaders are quiet, and in fact, some of them are here right now. People like Bill Gates and General McChrystal are introverts. We want to be creating a whole lot more of them. So we are building a Quiet Leadership Institute to train introverts to lead, communicate, connect by drawing on their own natural strengths instead of asking them to turn into extroverts. Now, 2 years ago, thanks to the power of TED, I now have this unlikely career as a public speaker. And I go around the world talking to every conceivable type of organization. And do you know who I found gets the potential of quiet leaders better than anyone? It's the military. The military, where leadership is a matter of life and death, and everybody knows that many of the great leaders are introverts. So excited today to announce that the Quiet Leadership Institute is going to be led by a wonderful guy named Mike Irwin. He's a decorated veteran, 2-time Bronze Star winner. He's a professor of leadership and positive psychology at West Point and a very fierce quiet revolutionary. Okay, third, empowering quiet children. The most poignant letters I get, the ones that haunt me, come from children who are hurting because the well-meaning adults in their lives ask them, why can't you be a little bit more like your outgoing sister? And they know that they can't be, and they never will be. And the letters come, too, from parents who are hurting because they hear repeatedly at parent-teacher conferences that their child's pretty great, but would be so much better if only he were that precious thing, more talkative in class. Hundreds of schools, thousands of teachers have been reaching out to us, clamoring for change. So in the year ahead, we are going to be partnering with schools to develop tools for parents and teachers to harness the talents of quiet children. One final story. There once was a boy who was so quiet and shy. He used to run home from school as soon as the bell rang to avoid socializing with his classmates. And as this boy grew older, he learned how to speak out on their behalf. This boy sided instinctively with the oppressed, and as he grew older, he learned how to speak out on their behalf. But he remained always a shy and quiet man, believing that these traits were his greatest source of strength. The boy's name was Mohandas Gandhi, and he later uttered, for me, the most important sentences in human history. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. So, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, I invite you to join our revolution. And I invite you to consider, really, that empowering the introverted half of the population is going to benefit us all. But most of all, I invite you to go out and shake the world gently. Thank you very much.